No one realized it was a scream when they heard the first sound. It was the deepest hour of the morning in Kiboko Wildlife Reserve. The sun had not yet risen, the sky was heavy as lead. But the sound, indistinct, muffled and intermittent, seemed to come not from inside the camp, but straight from the earth. Somewhere far away, something that wanted to live was crying out its presence. And this cry pierced the silence of nature like a bullet. Even the wind fell silent. This was not a call. It was the last efforts of a creature facing death, Peter didn't think as he ran out of the tent. His coffee was still on the table, his feet were still bare, but his heart had already moved. He grabbed his rifle with the back of his hand, felt for the radio with the other, but there was no sound. "Rex, with me," he whispered. He didn't even need to. The German Shepherd was already on the move. He wasn't running, he wasn't hunting. He was moving like a sworn soldier. Silent, determined, alert. His ears back, his footsteps like shadows in the dust. The slope from which the sound came was the northeast ridge. There were no camp boundaries there, only open terrain and wild rules. The grass was knee-high, the air dry, the earth cracked. Everything seemed normal. But silence in nature was never a good sign. Peter stopped. His heart echoing in his chest. And then, the moment came. Down the slope, he saw a baby elephant standing alone on the bare ground. Not even 6 months old. His eyes were huge. His nose was wrapped around his trunk. His feet were trembling. But most importantly, it was surrounded. 4 young male lions, wild, healthy, and patient. They weren't attacking. They were playing. Slowly, softly, circling, feeding on the cub's fear. Peter's throat tightened. There was no mother. No sign of the herd. Not even the sound of footsteps. It was as if this cub had been deliberately left alone. But why? It was too perfect a trap to be a coincidence, and in that moment, without command, without hesitation, Rex sprang. His muscles tensed like a spring. The sound he made was not that of a dog. It was a challenge. It was as if the earth was speaking to him. "Stand back," it was saying. "This cub is not alone." The lions were startled. They had not expected it. They could not have imagined that a dog would challenge nature's oldest killers like this, but Peter's eyes caught something else. The lions were not attacking, not retreating. They were just waiting. As if that cub hadn't just fallen there by chance. As if this was just the first act of a much bigger plan, and that morning in Kiboko, not only a life, but a secret was about to be revealed. Peter watched unblinking. The 4 lions below, not looking at each other, only circling around the fear radiating from the baby elephant. It was as if each of them had taken a different direction, slowly narrowing the circle. But what was remarkable was that they did not attack. They were young, they were strong, they didn't look hungry, but they were in no hurry. This was no hunt. This was the beginning of something. And the baby elephant, the poor baby elephant, just stood there. Trembling. His whole trunk was trembling, along with the ground he was standing on. Its eyes were watery, but it wasn't crying, it didn't feel safe enough to cry. His eyes didn't ask for help, because he didn't believe there was any help left. He just surrendered, and in that moment, Rex entered the circle of the 4 lions. Like a shadow, silent, but with a menacing presence. Like a wall between the baby elephant and the biggest lion. His fur stood on end. He raised his head, pricked up his ears. He was speaking with his whole body, "Don't step any further here." The German Shepherd's eyes locked with the eyes of the lion leader. At that moment everything fell silent. Even the wind held its breath. In this silence, there was only the beating of the heart. The lions paused for a moment. The leader slightly tilted his head to the side. They didn't know what to do. Because Rex was unlike anything they had ever known. He was neither a prey nor a rival. He was a determination that did not belong in nature. And that was the real danger. Peter's gut clenched. The radio was silent again. Help was not coming. And he was left with only one decision: intervene or watch from afar and be damned. Get back. Come on. Get away, he shouted, throwing his arms in the air. This is the simplest but last resort that works in nature. 2 lions retreated, the third stepped back, but the leader. Rex, the leader. It was as if he was measuring something. Not fear, but curiosity. As if he was trying to figure out what Rex was. And then, he made a decision. He turned and slipped into the bushes. The others followed him. The baby elephant was still trembling, but now it had a voice. It softly rubbed its nose against Rex's side. It wasn't a thank you. It meant, don't leave me. Peter fell to his knees. His whole body was drenched. Not sweat, but a dull fog of stress. What are you doing? He whispered to Rex, but he was really asking himself. Because she had never seen anyone move so fast, defending a cub to the death. Rex was just looking ahead. Into the bushes. He didn't know what was there, or who was coming. Peter shifted his eyes to the baby elephant's body. There were scratches on its legs. Light bleeding, bruises. But no bones were broken. This cub had escaped from something. And Peter was now sure, it hadn't just escaped from lions, it had escaped from something else. Maybe people. Maybe a darker plan. Because no elephant mother would leave her calf in such a vulnerable place. Not even wildlife rescue teams could have predicted such a scene. The image they were used to was of mothers fighting for their calves until their last breath, but this was so shocking it was hard to make sense of it that he tried the radio again. Peter is here. A 6-month-old baby elephant. Surrounded by 4 lions. No herd. Urgent air support required. Silence for a few seconds, then a voice: your signal went down, but we're getting it now. We're diverting the drone team. They'll be there in 8 minutes. 8 minutes. In nature, 8 minutes is long enough for a life to change twice. Peter turned his eyes back to the cub. He was still leaning on Rex. He didn't want to leave. This bond, this quick and unconditional bond, shook Peter to his core. Maybe the survival instinct wasn't just to run, but to cling to what was right. And maybe it's the same in your life. Do you think that sometimes the one who says nothing can save everything? Let us know in the comments. Peter stood up. The surrounding bushes were still silent, but the threat in that silence was now visible. The lions were part of a plan. But this plan was not theirs, it was another species. And Rex understood that before anyone else. That cub was alive now, but why it survived would answer a much bigger question. Because in Kiboko, no silence was an accident. And that morning, not only a life, but a secret began to unfold. As Peter watched the baby elephant's feeble footsteps, the weight inside him grew heavier and heavier. Every second until the drone arrived seemed like a year. But it was the ground, not the devices, that gave the real signal. Rex stopped suddenly. His ears tensed. His breathing slowed. It was as if there was an unseen whisper in the wind. When Peter looked where his dog's eyes were directed, he heard a low, thin sound beyond the bushes. Footsteps. Human feet. And that sound in the silence was even more eerie than the lion's. That he crouched low to the ground, shouldering his rifle. Rex didn't move, just fixed his eyes. Then the moment came. 2 men emerged from the trees. Rusty brown shirts, rifles on their backs. Long knives dangling at shoulder level made Peter sick to his stomach. These men followed their own interests, not the law of the jungle. They were poachers. And now they were after a baby elephant. Peter held his breath. The men approached where the mother elephant lay. They didn't even stop. They didn't look at her body, they didn't mourn. They just walked past. So this was not a random attack, but a planned division operation. Scatter the herd, separate the cub, take down the mother and then come back. This was not a hunt. This was control. It was to instill fear. And the cub was proof that they weren't finished yet. They won't take her back, Peter said to himself. Never. Silently he took the cub by the front legs and lifted him up. Get up, little buddy, we have to go. The pup struggled, but its eyes were still glued to Rex. The German shepherd did not turn away for a moment. The baby elephant was safe with him, and now he understood that too. Peter took them to the Northern Research Station. Fenced wildlife station, drone protection, veterinary support team, but nothing could erase the baby's fear. She shivered for hours. She didn't eat. She just leaned against Rex. Even when the wind blew, her eyes widened with fear. But Rex was always there. Quiet. Strong. Steady. Protective. When night came, the sky split open. It came down like a tropical storm. As raindrops pounded on the zinc roof, the cub scrambled up in panic. He banged his head here and there, looking for his mother. Peter tried to calm him down, but he couldn't. At that moment, without any command, Rex got up and crept through the door. They locked eyes. Rex just walked. Silently, in the middle of the storm. As soon as the baby elephant saw him, it calmed down. It stopped crying. It came slowly closer. She put her head on Rex's chest. And she stayed there. The thunder rumbled, the rain pounded, but the two of them built a world in the silence. Like family. Maybe for the first time, the next morning, the drone team found the herd. 7 kilometers to the northeast, gathered near a water source. Matriarch, with his imposing body, walked at the head. They had returned. But now there was another problem: the cub didn't want to be moved. When it saw the cage, it panicked, screamed, retreated. Peter realized what had happened. He won't go without Rex, he said. Mia nodded. Let him be with you. When they set off, there were 2 figures in the back of the truck, one a baby elephant, the other a German shepherd. And when they arrived, 17 giant gray shadows appeared on the horizon. The herd. Matriarch stepped forward, raised his ears, sniffed the air. Then silence. The baby elephant didn't get out of the truck. It looked at Rex. He touched him lightly with his nose. Rex took a step, but stopped. It was time for him to go. The baby got out. His first steps were weak but clear. He walked towards his pack. Matriarch came closer, wrapped his big nose around the cub's back. Then, everyone fell silent. But then the most unexpected thing happened. Matriarch turned. He looked at the truck, at Rex. They locked eyes. And the matriarch lifted his nose, gave a salute in the air. Short, slow, respectful. A thank you that only nature would understand. At that moment, everything stopped. Peter held his breath. His eyes filled. Rex's eyes were still on them. But his body relaxed. In that moment, everything seemed to fall into place. The baby elephant looked back one last time. There was something in his eyes. Gratitude. Trust. And perhaps a farewell. That day, not just an animal was saved. That day, nature was reunited. That day, a German shepherd saved not just a species, but a soul. And he came back quietly. He came to Peter. He got into the truck without making a sound. He didn't bark the whole way. But Peter understood something from his silence. He had done his job perfectly. And what about you? What would you do if the fate of a living being was in front of you? Can you reassure without saying a word? Has there been someone like Rex in your life? Share with us in the comments. Because sometimes silence is the loudest scream. That if you liked this story, leave a mark. That a like can be the voice of those silent thanks. Don't forget to subscribe, because every viewer can be a protector in this wild world, and maybe one day, your story will be told here too. Thank you that we are with you in the heart of nature. Now, until the next story, remember to breathe in the silence.